Okay, so love spell, a love spell for the spell crafting course. I haven't really designed this video. I haven't really given it much thought. I know that we haven't covered poppets, not on the spell casting course. We've done lots of videos as a company, both on YouTube, I think, but mainly on the Witchcraft Live Facebook group, on the video archive. We've talked a lot about poppets and things. The problem with poppet work is that people tend to only think to use them one way. A lot of the time people think when you say voodoo dolls, poppets, dolls, that sort of thing, then they'll think baneful, nasty magic. Sometimes the slightly more educated will think of healing and healing magic, but it's a versatile tool at the end of the day is a poppet. So what I want to do is I want to compare and contrast a couple of methods. So instead of actually really doing a spell, what I want to do is I want to talk about the theory and practice behind the use of using a kind of poppet theme for a love spell. And then most of the time when people think of love spells, they would say, oh, well, you should never force someone to love you. It should always be some kind of an organic thing, which makes sense. And I would go along those lines as you shouldn't probably try and force a specific person to love you. It can happen, you can do it, but how that tends to manifest is more that they would become a bit of a sycophant. So it's more, tends to manifest more as obsession. If you've got that person that you like in work, and you're attracted to them, but they're not kind of interested in you, and you go and do a spell to try and force them, then they might start to develop an interest. But that interest can turn out to be quite creepy and not really what you want. So, when it comes to general love magic, if we're talking about love magic as in trying to attract a partner, then really what you're trying to do is you're trying to kind of, it's almost like a magnet spell a lot of the time. What you're trying to do is unlock the doors and allow the ideal Mr. or Mrs. or whatever, right, to come to you. This works on two ways, and it should work on two ways. Most people only take the first approach, which is the magnet spell as in loving energy. I'm just going to radiate loving energy and people be attracted to me. A lot of the time people will opt for this kind of a version, a charm bag. Some kind of charm bag which magnifies and puts out some kind of loving energy, interacts with your aura, that kind of thing. I'm going to say that that can be a really good one, and that we've helped clients make charm bags that interact with their aura, that gives them more confidence, that projects out the kind of energies that other people can pick up on, almost like magical pheromones. No real problem with that, but for the purposes of this video, I think we should delve in a little bit deeper into some of the things that others aren't really talking about when they do YouTube videos to do with love magic and that. So we're going to dispense with the correspondences as ever. So we're not going to be using the red and that. We're not going to be using the rose quartz crystal. We don't want any of that crap, okay? We're not going to be getting a book and looking through the book to tell us what to use as ingredients and stuff. We're going to go purely by logic, okay? So, obviously using poppets, because obviously this is a poppet making video, so I had to give some sort of a formula, you know, but I want to guide you through my thought process, because I think you'll learn more from the thought process than you will from me saying go and get this, go and get that, and then add all these ingredients. So all of this stuff about get a little bit of cayenne pepper, get a little bit of paprika for the warming sensation of the heart and all that kind of thing. That's what you want. You want a little bit of rose petals, you want a little bit of this, that. We're going to ignore that and we're going to kind of go on this little adventure together. So, in terms of poppet magic, a lot of people will say with the poppet magic, it works on the principle that, well, the two most common ones anyway. One would be works on the principle of sympathetic magic and you're projecting onto that poppet. It's symbolic of what you're trying to do. A lot of the spells and that, as we know, whether it's candle spells, the symbology that we put into spells and that. That's one approach, is the fact that we're looking for a person, another person in our life who's going to love us and that we can love and form some happy ever after union, whatever. That's kind of how love magic works, isn't it? That's what we want to do, and this is the focal point that we're projecting that on. The second is, which is normally when we're using kind of baneful magic or healing magic, and that is to actually rip out a piece of the person's soul, stick it in the doll, and use the doll as a kind of doorway to get into their energetic body. So the energetic parts, the lower regions of their soul. What you're doing is you're taking a piece of them, putting it in the doll, and then using this doll as a gateway to send energy through. Second, obviously most common way of doing it. Now what we're going to do is, because we don't have a specific person in mind, so this kind of doll that we're using, or the doll that we are going to use, because we have lots of different types of dolls that we could use, yeah, is mainly going to be a placeholder. So it's going to be the first one. We're not actually linking it to a person. We're not taking a piece of someone's soul and sticking a doll, okay? We'll wait for the black magic video when we do that. We'll do that on the black magic video, okay? But not on this one. Or maybe on one of the healing ones, I don't know. But with this one, this is just a placeholder. This is just something for us to focus on, to be a symbolic representation of this mystery, man or woman. And that's what you really want to be thinking of it as. Now, a lot of the times people will say, when you do a love spell, write down all the qualities and stuff that you like and don't like. And you can kind of get the theory of that. It makes sense, yeah? It does make sense. Here's the problem. Out of all of the people that I know that are really deeply in love and have been for over a decade, if I say to a lot of them, would you have ever gone to that person? Would you have ever thought that it would have worked out with that person? A lot of them often say no, we're opposite. He's not the sort of person that I'd have ever have gone for. And I think there's a lesson to be learnt there. That lesson to be learnt is that you haven't got a fucking clue what you want, okay? Even if you think you want something, the chances are there may be someone out there that is perfect for you, that you will really, really get on with, and that you'll really love, and there would be some sort of a magical love romance that blossoms out of it. Problem is, if you do magical spells whereby you're making a massive list of things that you're excluding, that person could be on that list. So we want to keep this as open as possible. What we're really wanting to do is to stick with the core concept of you attracting a lover to you, but there's the important bit, you being attracted to them. So a lot of these love spells tend to work one way. They tend to be with the charm bag type of approach and stuff like that. Most people will program them to pull in. Actually, what we also want to do is we want this spell to work almost like a compass, in that it's going to point and it's going to lead us in the direction. We want the core concept of meeting someone that we can really love from a romantic perspective. We just don't want to find a long lost brother or sister or something like that. We ain't interested in that, right? We want love. We want a nice man or woman to love, okay? So with that, we want to be pulled to them and we want them to be pulled to us. So there's that kind of an attraction. Now, when selecting poppets to be used in magic, you need to get the kind of idea of how you're going to be using it down. So a lot of people, particularly pagans, or I should say neo-pagans, they tend to opt for the anatomically correct poppets. You know, if there's a man, it's going to have a willy. If there's a woman, it's going to have the boobs and all that, right? I would say I've met a lot of clients nowadays, which when you say to them, do you want the man puppet or the woman puppet? They say, well, I don't care if it's a man or a woman because I'm bisexual. So I'm going to assume, right, that you or your client might be bisexual. You don't necessarily know. You don't really care whether it's a man or a woman, you just want the person that's right for you, okay? If it is the case that you want, you might be a heterosexual man and you might want a woman, nice woman, then you can get a doll or make a doll that looks like a woman, a generic woman, okay? Same with if you want a man, you could get a doll with a willy on it, okay? Ideally a big willy. None of that really matters, does it? Yeah, it does. So so basically, selecting your Poppet and that. Now, if I use this is one of the Folksy dolls from the Thoth Witchcraft Shop, okay? It's a generic doll, super generic. You can turn him inside out and stuff him. It doesn't have a willy or anything like that. If I use a doll that is not anatomically correct and is just very, very plain, don't worry, because it doesn't necessarily mean that some man that looks like that with no facial features, no eyes, nose, mouth, nothing like that is going to turn up. This is a placeholder. This is just something to focus on. At this point, when we're creating this puppet, it doesn't have to look like the partner. In fact, I would suggest that you don't make it look like the partner. If you wanted a man, you might want someone tall, dark and handsome, and you might start making a tall Poppet with nice black hair and that. But actually, there might be a strawberry blonde guy that ends up being the one for you, and you've completely excluded that. So let's kind of ignore the facial features. Let's just stick, and ignore the personality and stuff like that. Just ignore that. Just stick with the core concept that we're going to be working with slightly over time, okay? Because this spell is going to become alive, okay? Now, I understand that you might not want to go out and buy Poppets. You might not want to go and buy a folksy Poppet from the Thoth Witchcraft website. You might not want to pour a load of wax to create a wax Poppet or buy that. What you could do is make a gingerbread man / woman, or go and buy one from Parsons Bakery or something like that. Just remember that it is food and will rot away eventually. Or you could just get some straws or something and make something as generic as that. So what I'm going to do is do the generic thing. I'm going to assume that you cannot afford to buy the fancy stuff. Okay? Goodbye fancy stuff. And we're going to stick to something as super simple as that. Now with this, obviously, I've left the bottom out because personally, when I'm casting this spell, I don't care if it's a man or a woman, okay? That's going to come to me. But if you make your Poppet, you're probably going to give it, you know, you might actually, you might give it a nice little legs, you know, you can tie the little legs. You might even make a little willy or something that pops out. I don't know, but something as simple as straw. You can make that from stuff that's laying around your house. You could even make something by getting a bunch of sticks, little stick figure. Go down to the woods, go out for a walk, get a couple of sticks, tie them together with some string. You could do anything like that. We're not going to be stuffing this Poppet. If I was using one of those other Poppets, like the Folksy doll Poppet, the material one, I might be stuffing it. What I want to do is something generic, okay, from household things. So with this symbolic representation of this mystery person that we don't know who it is, we don't really know a huge amount about them, okay? You might be thinking, well, I might fancy you know, a lawyer or something like that, someone that's you know, very, very wealthy, very intelligent, but actually you might end up falling in love with the caretaker from the local hospital or something. I don't know. Let's keep it open. The next thing I want you to get a little jar, okay, so just an empty jar. I've got one with a stereotypical red top, not because red's obviously the colour that you have to use, because the red is associated with love and all that crap. Is literally because I finished this the other day and it's been dry. I washed it and dried it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this jar and I'm going to stick my mystery man / woman or whatever it is inside. There's like a ghostly mystical figure within this, okay? And that's what I'm going to do. I want to be starting to think of this person, this mystery person, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start referring to this as the mystery person. I'm not going to start referring to it as my girlfriend or boyfriend or future boyfriend or girlfriend. It's a mystery romantic partner that's going to be coming soon, okay? And this spell is going to be something that you're going to be interacting with, as time goes on, until you find that person. Ideally, maybe when you've gone out with someone on the 4th date and you kind of think, well, actually, I think this person is the right sort of person, we might start thinking about discussing making things official and such. That's entirely up to you. I'm not saying you have to make things official after the 3rd or 4th date by any means, you know, but this is kind of what we're talking about. This is, you know, a lot of people use jars and things like that as traps and that, but actually this isn't one of those things. This is one of those things whereby it's a focal point for us, and what we want to do is this a mystery person is going to be coming to us. So today, okay, is Tuesday, the day of Mars. Whenever you look at your correspondence charts and all that sort of thing, they would say, oh, well, love's to do with Venus. You should do that on a Friday, or you should do that on a this day or a that day or whatever. I'm saying don't worry about things like that, because we're going to be using this and we're going to be working organically with this. Now, you would normally stuff a Poppet. Yeah, you'd normally take things and put it in the Poppet, that kind of thing. What I want for you to do with this is to start filling up the jar, okay? And think of the jar as a foundation, okay? A foundation with your relationship. Now, you don't have a relationship with this mystery person. This mystery person is somewhere out there floating about in the world. Don't know what they're currently doing. Interesting. We won't go off thinking about what our future partners might be currently doing at this very second, but it is interesting to do so. We'll leave that for the psychic lessons, when you can use a divination for stuff like that. What we want to do is we want to be thinking at the moment, this is, we're apart, we don't know each other. So what's the first step in terms of, you know, working this relationship out? Well, first start, you actually want to meet each other. So in terms of meeting each other, you want to be building on your mystery spell. What you want to be doing is you want to be getting people, or the kind of attraction, the chance encounters with this mystery person. And again, it's a mystery person. We don't know who it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to select ingredients that are symbolic of that. A mystery. Okay. So if you're the sort of person that has a kind of set routine and stuff like that, and you might be thinking in terms of, okay, so where are all of the places that I might meet someone, you know, you need to kind of, to a certain extent, think a little bit more outside of the box. Now, the sort of thing that I would expect a lot of people to think of is, oh, I know, I go to Starbucks every day. Maybe when I'm getting my tea or coffee in the morning, I might bump into mystery man or woman at Starbucks. Therefore, what I will do is I will take some tea. I've got some black tea here, symbolic of the Starbucks tea. And I will take it and I will put it in, because that's one of the places that I could meet Starbucks man or woman. All right, so that's foundation, a possibility. Now, that's okay, because that does kind of make sense in a way. But what we need to do is we need to be a little bit kind of wary about how things manifest. So, assuming that I wanted a man or woman, okay, this mystery person. If I put something in here, because this spell is the power, okay, this jar is the power source for making this chance encounter happen with this mystery person, okay? We're not telling it to bring this person to Costa or Starbucks or whatever. We're giving this spell, because we already know what it is. We already know that it's a spell that is the mystery person and myself that we're going to have a chance encounter, okay? So if I feed this energy, how that's going to manifest, it might not necessarily manifest the way in which we think it's going to manifest. For example, here's an example of a real life scenario, okay? I feed this energy, mystery man or woman is attracted to me because my boiler breaks down and I have to phone a gas engineer, and the lovely gas engineer turns up and we get a talking and we end up screwing each other in the back bedroom. Anyway, So think of it like that, chance encounters and stuff like that. At the end of the day, if you don't, you probably don't already know this person. So the chances of you meeting this person from somewhere that you would normally go to on an everyday basis, you're not likely to meet them. So because of that, you're probably going to meet this person from doing something or being somewhere or interacting with people that you wouldn't necessarily automatically do that. That's going to take some energy. It's going to take some doing. And remember, whenever we want to cause change in the universe, it takes energy to do that. Because what you're talking about is you're not talking about letting the universe do what it's automatically doing. You're talking about creating change. Whenever you create change, it takes energy to do that because you're changing something. So energy. What to you symbolizes energy? It doesn't have to be relevant to love at all, okay? It needs to be symbolic. This is a battery, okay? Battery to get done what you want to get done, which is the meeting the partner, the chance encounters and stuff like that. So, if you want to use your cinnamon because you like cinnamon and you think a cinnamon is a great battery, that's fine. If you think of that as a battery, that's fine. You can put that in. But remember, we're thinking of power. We're thinking of energy. We're thinking of that kind of thing. Okay? We're not thinking about love correspondences. We're thinking about, okay, taking a step back now and not necessarily crafting this all in one day or one afternoon or 1 hour or all at one time, but actually sticking it on a shelf and walking away and thinking slowly over time, okay, mystery person, what do I feel that I need to add to this? Allow the spell, because this spell is going to start speaking to you at some point. Allow the spell to start entering thoughts into your unconscious mind about what you want, okay? For some reason, what it's asking me to put in is seaweed. Why seaweed? Who knows? Who knows why seaweed? I happen to have some seaweed. I happen to have some dry seaweed. But that's kind of coming to me. I'm getting the idea of seaweed. Now, interesting what might happen, okay, because you need to be thinking of this as a kind of a language, as a play. I've chosen to put seaweed in because that started to, it started to enter into my thought process. Now, so I'm going to put a little bit of seaweed in the jar. Now, what's quite interesting, okay, is that I was invited to go fishing with a friend and her husband, okay? In fact, that's what is actually quite strange as well, is that I was also talking to someone else that I know who went fishing on the weekend with her husband. Well, partner, we'll say partner. But things like that. It's kind of like, imagine that. I've been drawn to put this in. Is there a symbology there? Should I say yes to go fishing with these two people that I know? If I did say yes and we went to the seaside and did some fishing or on the boat lake or whatever, who would I meet there? Would I meet someone there or would I not meet someone there? Think about, or try not to overthink, I think is the key here. It's about you concentrating on this for a little bit of time and then walking away. So I might put that seaside seaweed stuff in and I might actually think, okay, right, now I've done that and that's come to me, I might phone up person and say, yes, I will go fishing with you. Not going to tell them because I did a little spell and I think I might bump into the one, because that some people, okay, witches might think that that's quite amusing, but some people will think you're crazy if you say shit like that. So maybe not do that, but just say, yeah, I'm gonna go. Okay, get you out of the house. Gets me out of the house, right? Now, you might go to that seaside, you might not meet anyone at all. Something might not happen. Don't get disheartened at that. You were told, or you felt the need to put an ingredient in that. It's not a case of going back to the drawing board and emptying it out. We're building on something, okay? These are all little hints and clues. We're interacting with the ingredients. It's not going to be necessarily right first time. So kind of think, okay, what else do I want to put in this? I kind of want to put a little bit of broom And I don't mean broom as in the broom that you sweep the house with. I mean broom as in the sort of flowers that grow around where I grew up, you know? So maybe it's a sort of a country boy or girl or something like that. I've got some broom that I've picked and dried out from the place I grew up when I went back there. So I'm adding that in there. This is a game. You need to kind of think of this as a game, because although these are energetic ingredients that we're adding to this spell, okay, there are some hints there. So what we want to do is we want to continuously work on this, and we want to pay attention to what we're putting in. We don't want to use our brains to do this. It's love. We don't want to be using our brains. We don't want to be using the books. We want to be using our feelings, our hearts, and our unconscious to tell us you need to put something like that in. If I'm told I should put a key in, I'm going to put a key in. Am I going to overthink why I'm putting a key in? No, I'm not. But what I am going to do, because this is naturally and it's going to happen, is that something might come up in everyday life and someone mentions a key, or you might find a key on the floor, or someone uses the word key in something. You might twig, you might think, oh, my spell, my spell, my spell. That's what we want. We're paying attention to this. Where attention goes, energy flows. We're feeding into this. We are feeding this, and it will start to interact with us. It will start to set things up in our everyday life. Okay, that kind of thing. Now, eventually, what I'd like you to do when you do bump into one or two people, because the chances are, if I'm honest with you, and this is what a lot of witches and that they won't like to tell you, that do love magic, is whenever I've had it work really well for clients, it ain't just a one lady or man that turns up. It's like 3 or 4. And then you've got a pick, okay? So imagine you know, it's been a couple of weeks, blah de blah, a couple of other things have happened. We've got a little bit of black tea in here, we've got a little bit of a broom, we've got a little bit of seaweed, that kind of thing. It's filled up, we've added a few more ingredients, and then all of a sudden, I'm being a little bit of a socialite because I keep on hearing all these things like key. Do you want to go to Kingsham? Okay, I'll go there because they reminded me of my spell. I'll go there. Do you want to go fishing? Yeah, I'll go there, blah, blah, blah. So you're going all to these different places. But at the same time, you've also met a couple of new people. Okay? And those new people, you're going to start to think, okay, so I really like you, but I really like you as well. And I really like number 3, although I don't like you as much as the first 2 because I don't really know you as well. And there's this, you know, you're kind of hot, but personality, I think we clash. You're not overthinking things, you're not thinking too much about stuff, but what you are going to start to do is you're going to start to not necessarily do what a lot of people do and overthink and go, well, let's get my tick list of whether I like you or not. What you're going to do is you're using this. This spell helped those people come to you. This mystery person may be here, they may not be here. So what you're going to do is you're going to get this spell to help you with that next step. It's attracted and opened doors for you currently. But now you've got a bunch of girls or guys and you're not entirely sure which way to go. So are you going to carry on dating them? Obviously, you might date them and get to know them a little bit more. But just think, your spell is a resource. Imagine your spell is alive, okay? And add a little bit more. Something else. Choice, decisions, the deep dark secrets maybe, okay? So what you might be wanting to do now is you might be saying, okay, we've added energy to symbolize, you know, meeting and that kind of thing. What I really want to do is I want to know what their core personality is, or their secrets and things like that, or how they react, things that I won't like about this person or these people. Now, because this doll is not consecrated to a specific person, it's going to actually work, or should work, on anyone that you kind of perceive, and it will interact with and help you with anyone that you kind of perceive as a partner or a potential partner. So this one spell is going to work on those 3 people, okay? So what you want to do is you want to be thinking, okay, symbolic of hidden truths, that kind of thing. What is coming to mind? What am I doing? Am I going to have a little look in my cupboard? Am I going to go out for a walk? What am I going to do? Well, volatility, volatile. I've been in relationships personally where the other person's been, shall we say, a very angry and disruptive person. And I want to see if any of these people have that, because I want to kind of avoid that. There's a difference between passion and someone gay being really, really fucking aggressive towards you. So I don't want no like super aggression. So what can I get this as symbolic of that? Well, I happen to actually have, because it's been in the corner of my eye, a piece of lava rock. Lava is a very hot, painful, and can be quite destructive. But hot-tempered people and lava, the flow of a hot-tempered person when they're shouting abuse and screaming and shouting and throwing things at you, a little bit like lava, just destroys everything in its vicinity. So I want to think, do any of these people have that tendency? I want to see it. I want to be able to see that. Pop it in. And then, you know, you can put the jar away on the side, see what happens. When you interact with these various people, you know, how is this spell gonna put them in situations where you can observe, put you and them in situations where you can both observe, well, what's kind of happening. Did you go out on a date? Did you go out to a restaurant and someone mucked up their order and they've got, what the fuck did you do? I didn't order that. Fucking get back in the kitchen and make me another one. Because that's not very attractive, okay? How is that working? Did you go out on 2 dates? Did you go out on 3 dates all in one day? Nothing wrong with that. I've done that. I don't judge. Some people will judge you for it. I've got friends that judge me for that. But anyway, so did you go on a couple of dates? Did you get, you know, what happened? Did one person have a go at someone for no apparent reason? Did they pick on the waiter or waitress? What? Remember, this battery kind of spell is working in a slightly different way. So you need to tell it what the information you want it to know, and you want to tell it and feed it energy to be able to do that. So what I tend to go for is either adding something in that is symbolic to you of what you're trying to find out, information and such, or what you're wanting the spell to do. So with the lava, for me, it made sense that it was a hot-headed person. I want to find out that. So I told that spell, that's what I want you to do. Find out if any of these people are hot-headed. I want to see what they're like. I want to see, bring that out in them. Put them in a situation where I can see whether that's the case or not. Add that into your spell and just put it to one side and leave it, and then see what happens. Obviously, in terms of adding in extra energy and stuff like that, if you want to feed the spell, you can feed the spell. In terms of how you want to do that, again, just be smart about it. Are you doing some cooking? Yeah? And you're thinking, ooh, I haven't really put anything in that jar spell for a while, but I really want to put something in, but I don't really know what I want to do. But I am cooking something nice for tea. And I tell you what, in my little herb cupboard, I'm going to sprinkle some basil on what I'm cooking. So what I might do is, although the basil doesn't necessarily make sense at the moment, or I don't have a reason to put the basil in, I do want to feed the spell. I want to put a little bit of energy in the spell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of basil in there just to feed and empower the spell and keep the spell running. I'm not going to overthink it, okay? So in terms of adapting this spell over time, is essentially what you're wanting to do is you need to start thinking about this less as a strict procedure, okay, and more as something that you interact with. It's kind of like your kind of special friend, this mystery person is really what you're interacting with at the end of the day, because how these spells tend to work is they'll start to not only attract you to them, so we'll work on you and the other person, but also a lot of the time it's about judging and seeing, because that's what we, you know, when we fall in love with people and stuff like that, it's not all about obviously the looks and that, is it? It's about the personality and stuff like that. And very often you only find out what someone's really like in the inside after you dissect them. No, after you observe them and you're in different situations and stuff. And this spell can help with that, because if it's manipulated you two to get together, it can also manipulate situations for you to be able to observe things. So have a little think about that. When you do decide that you're going to go ahead with the person that you choose, okay, you've weaned out, you've gone from 3 potentials to 1, then you might want to get rid of this spell. You might want to stop, you know, because, and here's the reason why you do that, is because, yes, this spell could potentially carry on working, because this person is no longer a mystery. You've associated that person with the person you've chosen. Now this spell becomes a spell of manipulation and power over your potential partner. And if you want that relationship where you're wanting to manipulate your partner magically constantly, then you go and do that. Ethically, not my cup of tea. So at that point, when you're invested in the relationship and developing the relationship, perhaps best to do it organically and not use magic and stuff in order to manipulate the situation and stuff. You've got Mr. or Mrs. Right at the end of the day by the looks of it. So it's time to put your kind of thoughts, feelings and emotions on the line and actually delve into that relationship. So what I would suggest is you take the bits and pieces and you take them and you put them away. Normally, whenever it's something that's a baneful magic and not particularly nice magic, I dispose of it in a not particularly nice place or burn it destructively, quickly and angrily. If it's something that's nice, I tend to take the component parts out, so I'll literally empty this jar out and I'll just gently and respectfully put it in places that it can just decompose naturally. Generally, when I work with spell work like this, apart from the jar, which I'll probably just send to be recycled, put it in the recycling bin, you kind of just want to go for something that's kind of slow, respectful. Yes, I'm taking this apart now, not aggressive, destroying. Okay, people get worried about when you take dolls apart and that. I've never ever had a problem with a client who's just said, okay, yeah, the spell's worked, I'm happy, so I'm just gonna start disassembling it slowly and then putting it away. You could put it in the bin. I tend to just leave it in various different places. What might be a really nice one to do is to go and put it maybe somewhere that you went on a date with the person. I don't know, if you went to the park or something like that, or a picnic, or you met them at the beach, then go and take this to the beach. You could put the jar in the bin, but empty all the contents out and bury it in the sand or something like that. So, you know, hopefully I've given you enough to think about, but I haven't really done a specific spell this week. It's more getting you into the habit of thinking for yourself and not relying on correspondences. So, most important thing, if you haven't already, press the fucking subscribe button, because Chris has told me I've got to say that in the end of every video. And it does help us out, because we want more subscribers on our Thoth TV YouTube channel than a lot of these crappy, well, there's a lot of crappy magical channels out there that just basically get a book like this and tell you, get your red candle, get your love oil that you can buy from me, get your love powder that you can buy from me. We try and put a little bit more effort into the videos and really trying to teach. So if you like what we do, and you appreciate this, please like and subscribe to our channel and, you know, like the video. Over and out.